The dusty street of Redemption Creek held its breath that afternoon. A trembling young woman, barely 19, stood on the wooden auction stage, not as property, but as collateral for her father's debts. Her name was Clara Mayfield, daughter of a once respected farmer now ruined by drought and greed. The townsfolk whispered as the auctioneer barked numbers, each one slicing through her dignity. Then from the back of the crowd, a tall, silent cowboy named Luke Callahan stepped forward. He wasn't rich, just a drifter with a scarred past. But something in Clara's eyes struck him like a bullet to the soul. When the bidding hit $3, he lifted his hand. $3, the auctioneer repeated, laughing. Sold! Gasps rippled through the street. Everyone thought he'd come to claim her as his own. Instead, Luke walked up to the stage, removed his hat, and handed the money over. I'm not buying her, he said softly. I'm buying her freedom, the crowd murmured. Clara looked at him with disbelief. For the first time in weeks, tears rolled down her cheeks, not of shame but of sudden hope. The sheriff protested, the townsfolk sneered, but Luke didn't care. He helped her down from the stage and led her away from the jeers, the stares and the cruelty of the crowd. But as the sun sank behind the mountains, Clara began to realize something. Strange, the man who'd saved her seemed haunted by something. Darker than any outlaw's sin, days turned into weeks. Luke gave Clara a place to stay at his small ranch outside town. He never asked for anything, only offered food, safety, and quiet. But whispers spread fast in Redemption Creek. The cowboy bought himself a girl. Clara struggled between gratitude and fear. She didn't understand why he'd risk his reputation for her. One night during a thunderstorm, Luke came back from town with bruises and blood on his shirt. He'd fought off men who'd tried to reclaim her for the debt collectors. When Clara saw him fall to his knees from exhaustion, she screamed, not in terror but in anguish. Why would you do this for me? I'm nothing. Luke looked up, eyes full of pain. Because once, someone bought my freedom. And I never got to thank her. In that moment, Clara realized the truth. Luke wasn't saving her out of pity, but out of redemption. She knelt beside him, holding his hand as the rain poured down through the open roof. Months later, when the rumors died and the land healed, Luke proposed not with words, but by kneeling again, this time under a blue sky, not a storm. Clara cried once more, but now it was out of joy. The wind howls across the plains. Dust swirls through the air like restless ghosts of the past. A lone rider appears on the horizon, Luke Callahan, his hat pulled low, coat flapping behind him. His horse breathes heavily, carrying both man and burden. A letter is clutched in Luke's hand, its edges torn and smudged with dirt. Narrator. Mercy's a strange thing out here. Some call it weakness. But for Luke Callahan, mercy was the only thing keeping his soul from turning to stone. Back at the ranch, Clara kneels in the dirt, tending the small garden Luke built for her. Her hands are blistered, her face streaked with sweat and hope. She looks up as the sound of hooves echoes in the distance. Clara. Luke? Luke dismounts, his face tired, shadowed by something he hasn't told her yet. He takes off his hat and walks toward her slowly. Luke. Clara, they're coming. Clara. Who? Luke. The same men from the auction. The banker hired bounty riders. They say I stole you, say I cheated the law. Her eyes widen in fear. The camera pans toward the horizon. 5 riders. Black coats, rifles across their saddles, heading fast toward the ranch. Narrator, V.O. Out here, a man could fight for gold, for land, or for pride. But to fight for a woman's freedom, that was something the law never understood. Luke grabs his rifle, checks the chamber. Clara stands behind him, voice shaking. Clara. Luke, we can run. Luke. No, Clara. If we run now, we'll always be running. Time to end this the way men of the West end everything. Standing tall. The bounty riders arrive, dust exploding behind them. Their leader, Marshal Denton, steps forward. Scarred face, silver badge. Marshal Denton. Callahan. Hand her over. You've got no papers, no claim, no right. Luke. I don't own her. Never did. But I'll die before I let another man say he does. The 2 men lock eyes, silence, even the wind stops. The first gunshot breaks the quiet. Chaos erupts. Bullets strike the fence posts, horses rear, Clara screams. Luke fires back the 1, 2, 3 shots. He takes a hit to the shoulder but keeps firing. Narrator, V.O. They say angels don't ride in the West, but sometimes they aim true. When the dust settles, the bounty riders are gone, some fleeing, some fallen. Luke drops to one knee, bleeding, exhausted. Clara rushes to him, catching him before he falls. Clara crying, "Luke, stay with me, please." Luke, weakly smiling. "Looks like I'm kneeling again, darlin'." But this time not out of guilt. Out of gratitude, she cradles him, tears mixing with blood and dust. The camera pulls back slowly, the wide-open plain stretching endlessly behind them.